The next morning, Joyce burst into Emma's room and found it empty. The bed untouched, the closet half open, the side door unlocked. Panic gripped her like a vice. She called the guards, the driver, the housekeeper. No one had seen her leave. Then she found the journal on the desk, open to a single page. You loved the version of me you built. Now I'm building the version I love. Don't look for me. Just let me be free. Joyce sank into the chair, the journal trembling in her hands. Her mind raced with fear. Was Emma safe? Was she alive? What if something went wrong? She had tried to shield her daughter from the world. But now, the world had swallowed her whole. And Joyce had no idea where to begin looking. Emma and Alex arrived at a cramped but cozy apartment in Sur-le-Lyre, his cousin's place. A mattress on the floor, faded curtains, a buzzing fan. It wasn't a koi, but it was freedom. Emma collapsed onto the mattress, laughing and breathless. Alex watched her carefully. We don't have much here, he said. But you'll be safe. I don't need much, Emma replied. Just my voice. Just a chance. They spent the next few days, recording nonstop. Emma poured her heart into the mic. Pain, rage, longing. She wrote verses that bled truth. Alex uploaded one of her tracks anonymously on SoundCloud. To their surprise, it went viral. People from across Lagos began sharing her voice, the rich girl with raw fire. Nobody knew it was Emma Adjoa. Not yet. Back in Ikoyi, Joyce sat alone in her office, replaying old videos of Emma's piano recitals, birthday parties, and speeches. She hadn't eaten, hadn't slept. She stared at her daughter's childhood photos, smiles she hadn't seen in years. F called again. Joyce, she's not trying to hurt you. She's just trying to find herself. She could get killed out there. Joyce snapped. But she wasn't living in here. Joyce hung up. Her eyes landed on a family photo. Emma at 12, beaming, holding a gold medal. She had once been her whole world. Now, she was a stranger with a voice the world was beginning to hear. And Joyce wasn't ready for that kind of silence. 3 weeks had passed. Emma now went by the name Yeme on streaming platforms. Her breakout song, Velvet Chains, had been played over 50,000 times. Comments poured in. People connected with her raw honesty, her stripped-down sound. A rising underground producer reached out. A small radio station invited her for an interview. She was anonymous in the public eye, but her voice was everywhere. In that tiny Sur-le-Lyre flat, Emma was living a life she had once only imagined, exhausting, uncertain, but hers. She learned to budget, to cook simple noodles, to take buses and ignore stares. Her music was her currency, her truth, her armor. Alex watched her transformation with awe. You've got something, he told her. But are you ready for what comes with it? Emma smiled faintly. I wasn't ready for a koi either. Meanwhile, Joyce sat in her car outside a police station. She'd filed a missing person report the week Emma disappeared. Now, the inspector handed her a file with an update. She hasn't left Lagos. No evidence of kidnapping, he said. Someone's helping her. Likely someone she met at university. Joyce's fingers trembled as she clutched the file. Her daughter hadn't run from danger. She had run from her. And now she was thriving. Emma stood behind the mic at a dim-lit radio station in Ikeja, headphones on, heart pounding. So, Yeme, the host smiled, unaware of her real identity. Your lyrics hit hard. Velvet Chains sounds personal. Emma nodded slowly. It is. It's about breaking out of a life that looked beautiful but felt like a trap. You're clearly from a different background than most artists in your genre. What pushed you into music? She paused, fingers tightening around the mic. Silence. Too much silence. I needed to scream without screaming. The host chuckled. Well, you're doing just that. The interview aired that night and spread fast. Emma's voice, fierce and vulnerable, stirred something in listeners. Her follower count doubled. Offers started to trickle in. Meanwhile, in Ikoyi, Joyce sat on the edge of her bed. The interview played from her tablet. She didn't recognize the voice at first, deeper, stronger, but when she heard those words, a life that looked beautiful but felt like a trap, her heart dropped. That was Emma. Her daughter was telling the world her pain. Joyce felt her throat tighten. She had given Emma everything. Security, opportunity, reputation. But not space. Not voice. Now the whole world was listening to what she had never allowed her to say at home. And for the first time, Joyce didn't know if she wanted to call her back or call her to say sorry. The buzz was impossible to ignore. Emma's interview had gone viral. Music blogs wrote about Yeme, the mystery girl with a golden voice and scars beneath silk. Some speculated she was from Wealth, others guessed street roots. No one knew for sure, but someone recognized her voice. Chioma, a childhood friend of Emma's and daughter of one of Joyce's close associates, called Joyce in hushed disbelief. "Joyce, it's Emma. That voice. That's your daughter." Joyce didn't speak. She just stared at the paused video on her screen. Emma's face half hidden by a hoodie, her eyes tired but alight. Chioma continued, "There's a showcase next Friday. Yeme is performing live. Small venue, but people are already scrambling for tickets." Joyce ended the call and sat quietly. She wanted to be angry, furious even, but what she felt was deeper. She missed her daughter. Later that night, she opened her safe, pulled out an old velvet box, and lifted a gold bracelet engraved with the words, "For my songbird, always shine." A gift Emma had once adored, before the silence grew. With a deep breath, Joyce picked up her phone and sent a message through an anonymous account. "You have a beautiful voice. I hope your mother hears it someday." She didn't expect a reply. She didn't even know if Emma would read it. But for the first time, she was no longer trying to control Emma's voice. She was trying to understand it. The lights dimmed. A low hum filled the tiny arts theater in Victoria Island. People from across Lagos had packed the hall. Fans, influencers, indie producers, all waiting for Yeme. Backstage, Emma paced nervously. Her palms were sweaty, her heart pounding against her ribs. Alex touched her shoulder gently. "You're ready," he said. She gave a weak smile. "I've never performed as me." He shook his head. "You've been you since the first note. Tonight, the world just sees it." She stepped onto the stage, bathed in warm amber light. For a heartbeat, everything fell silent. Then soft applause began. She took the mic and exhaled. "This song," she began, voice calm but steady, "is for anyone who's ever lived behind someone else's mirror." Then she began to sing. "I used to walk like glass, clear, breakable, unseen. Now I dance like fire. Even when I burn, I'm free." The audience leaned in, breathless. Emma wasn't just performing. She was bleeding truth, line by line, verse by verse. In the back row, under a low hat and dark sunglasses, Joyce sat motionless. F had dragged her there. Half by guilt, half by love, Joyce watched the stage, stunned. This wasn't rebellion. It was revelation. Her daughter was shining, not as Joyce's project, not as Okoye's princess, but as a woman, whole and wild and wonderfully flawed. For the first time in her life, Joyce wasn't the center of Emma's world. And oddly, it didn't hurt. It humbled her. Backstage after the showcase, Emma was swarmed. Fans asked for pictures. A producer slipped her his card. A music blogger begged for an exclusive interview. Emma smiled politely, overwhelmed but glowing. Alex hugged her tightly. "You killed it!" She grinned. "Did I? I couldn't even see past the lights." "You didn't need to see," he said. "They saw you." In the far corner, Emma noticed a small velvet box on the dressing table, something she hadn't brought in. Her smile faded. She opened it slowly. Inside lay the gold bracelet, the engraving. "Still perfect. For my songbird, always shine." Her breath caught. Alex leaned over. "What's that?" "My mum's," she whispered. "She was here." She turned the box over. Tucked beneath it was a small note. "You were never invisible. I was just afraid. But tonight I saw you. And I'm proud. Mum." Emma sat down, stunned. Her throat tightened. The crowd, the clapping, the buzz, it all blurred. She had fought for her voice, but part of her had always hoped her mother would hear it. And now she had. She pressed the bracelet to her wrist, gently. "I don't know if I'm ready to forgive her," Emma said softly. Alex nodded. "Then don't rush. But don't close the door either." Emma looked toward the stage curtain, where the light still spilled in, and for the first time, she didn't feel torn between two worlds. She was building one of her own. The morning after the showcase, Joyce sat in her garden, the same one where Emma had once taken her first steps. She watched the koi fish drift through the water, remembering her daughter's tiny hands clapping at the colors. F joined her with a steaming cup of tea. She saw the bracelet, F said quietly. And the note. Joyce nodded slowly, her face unreadable. I don't know how to reach her anymore, she said. I built walls thinking they were wings. If Ismail Fandli. She's your daughter. And daughters don't forget love. They just fight for their version of it. Meanwhile, in Suralir, Emma sat on the floor, legs crossed, the bracelet around her wrist. She stared at her journal, blank pages, no lyrics today. She thought about her mother's note. It wasn't an apology, not fully, but it was something. A softness, a crack in the armor. Emma picked up her pen and began writing, not lyrics this time, but a letter. Mom, I didn't leave because I hated you. I left because I couldn't breathe. But I want to talk. Not to argue. Just talk. Can we do that? She folded it, unsure if she'd send it. But writing it felt like unlocking a window. Later, she tucked it into an envelope and gave it to Alex. Please drop this at the gate, she said. No one has to see you. He nodded. You ready? Emma exhaled. Not yet, but I'm willing. And sometimes that was enough. The gate security handed Joyce a plain white envelope that afternoon, addressed simply, Mom. No frills, no family crest, no formality, just 5 handwritten lines. Joyce read the letter once, then again. By the third time, her eyes were wet. She sat at her desk, staring at the last line. Can we do that? She picked up a pen, then put it down, picked it up again. What could she even say? She had always spoken in plans, orders, perfection, not emotion. But that wasn't what Emma needed now. She finally wrote, Emma, I'm learning to listen. Yes, we can talk, wherever you feel safe. I will come to you, not to bring you home, but to meet you where you are. She sealed the envelope with trembling hands and sent it through the same gate, the same guard. No Sidniche. Emma would know. In Suralir, Emma opened it slowly. As she read, her hand covered her mouth. The words weren't poetic, but they were rare. Real. Mum's not fighting me anymore, she whispered. She's coming to your world, Alex said. Emma stared out the window. The world outside was loud and flawed, but it was hers now. And her mother was finally knocking instead of barging in. For the first time in months, Emma smiled. Then it's time we spoke, woman to woman. The small cafe in Yaba was nothing like Joyce's usual places. No polished chandeliers, no uniformed waiters. Just warm air, the scent of fresh bread, and soft Afrobeats humming in the background. Emma chose it on purpose. Neutral ground. Joyce arrived exactly at 3 p.m., dressed simply. No jewelry, no designer bag. Just her and a quiet resolve. Emma spotted her through the window and stood. The moment their eyes met, time slowed. Joyce approached, unsure if a hug would be welcome. Emma gave a small nod. You came. Joyce sat down. You invited me. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Emma broke the silence. I thought you'd come to drag me home. Joyce shook her head. I came to meet you. Wherever that is now. Emma blinked. That's new. I'm learning. Joyce paused, then added softly, I don't agree with how you left. But I understand why you had to. Emma looked down at the table. Her voice was quiet. I didn't want to hurt you. You didn't, Joyce said. You woke me. They sat in that stillness, mother and daughter, no longer fighting, no longer running. Just sitting, breathing. I'm not done figuring myself out, Emma admitted. Joyce smiled gently. Neither am I. They both laughed, awkward but honest. Emma reached across the table, fingers grazing her mother's. I don't want to lose you, she said. Joyce's voice cracked. You won't. But next time, lead me to your world, don't lock me out of it. And there, between cold drinks and warm understanding, the first bridge was built. Not of control, but of choice. Emma returned to Suralir that night, but something had shifted. Her world didn't feel split anymore, it felt balanced. 2 lives, 1 heart. Alex noticed it the moment she walked in. Your energy's different, he said. She smiled, taking off her earrings. I think we're starting to understand each other. Joyce, on the other hand, found herself journaling for the first time in years. Not to control, but to reflect. She's not a child anymore, she wrote. She's a woman. Brave enough to leave. Brave enough to return. I must be brave enough to let go. She spoke to her therapist later that week, something she'd resisted for years. I wrapped Emma in expectations because I was afraid she'd get hurt, Joyce confessed. But I ended up being the one hurting her. The therapist nodded. Control feels safe, but love grows in freedom. Joyce left that session lighter. Back in Surrey, Emma received an email from a top music label. They wanted a meeting, nothing binding, just a conversation. She forwarded it to Joyce, without a word. A test. Minutes later, her phone rang. Joyce's voice was calm, even warm. Whatever you decide, I'll be in your corner. Not behind you. Not in front of you. Beside you. Emma didn't cry, but she smiled so wide it hurt. For the first time in her life, her dreams didn't feel like rebellion. They felt like roots, and she was finally learning how to grow without breaking. The music label meeting was set for Friday afternoon in Lekki. Emma dressed simply, jeans, a soft blouse, no makeup. Just confidence. Joyce offered to drive her, but Emma declined gently. This is something I need to walk into on my own. Joyce smiled. Then I'll wait for your call. No matter what. At the label office, Emma met with 2 executives and a young A&R rep who had discovered her online. They praised her authenticity, her voice, her rawness. But then came the contract. We love your story, one exec said, but we'd like to shape your brand a bit. Make it more glamorous. Refined. Emma raised an eyebrow. You mean polished? Less honest. The room went quiet. She thought of her past, how she'd spent years being shaped into something pristine. She had clawed her way out of that. She wouldn't go back. I appreciate the offer, Emma said firmly. But I'm not looking to be rebranded. I'm looking to be heard as I am. The youngest A&R rep looked at her, wide-eyed. The execs exchanged a glance. Fair, one of them said at last. Let's revise the terms. Emma left the meeting with options, but more importantly, with herself intact. When she called Joyce, her mother asked just one thing. Are you proud of how you handled it? Emma smiled into the sun. Very. Then so am I. That night, as the city lights blinked across Lagos, Emma sat by the window and hummed a new melody, one about becoming. And for the first time in a long time, the echo she heard back was her own. 2 months later, Emma stood backstage at one of Lagos' biggest cultural festivals, Lagos Rising. Her name wasn't at the top of the lineup, but it was there, and that meant something. Alex handed her a bottle of water. This crowd's massive, he said. Emma smiled, calm. I'm not nervous. You used to shake before singing at open mic night. I was trying to prove something then, she said. Tonight, I'm just sharing. Across the city, Joyce sat in her living room, surrounded by a few of her friends in F. The event was being streamed live. She wore the bracelet Emma had gifted her recently, engraved with "Thank you for finally seeing me." The host announced EMA, and the crowd roared. Emma stepped into the lights, the applause washing over her like ocean waves. She didn't wear anything flashy, just a long Ankara jacket over a black jumpsuit, her natural curls out, unapologetic. I wrote this song when I finally understood my mother wasn't the villain, she said into the mic. She was just scared of losing me, of losing control, of letting me fall. But I needed to fall and rise. She began to sing, a soft ballad titled Fall into Flight. Joyce listened, hand over her heart, tears streaming down her cheeks. This was not the child she raised. This was the woman Emma had become. And for the first time, Joyce wasn't mourning the loss of control. She was celebrating the gift of freedom. Weeks after the festival, Emma's name was on everyone's lips. Not just because of her voice, but because of her story. Authentic, unfiltered, unfolding. She had released her first EP independently, Roots and Wings. It climbed charts. Not mainstream yet, but real. Respected. Joyce attended the private listening session in person this time. No disguises. No silence. When Emma saw her enter, their eyes locked. This time, Emma walked toward her, not as a daughter seeking permission, but as a woman offering connection. "Thank you for coming," Emma said softly. Joyce pulled her into a warm, steady hug. "Thank you for letting me." Later, during the final song, Emma invited someone unexpected to the stage. "I didn't write this one alone," she said. "It came from a conversation that changed everything." She turned to Joyce, who froze. "Mom!" Emma smiled. "Will you join me?" Joyce laughed nervously but walked up. Emma handed her a second mic. They sang together, just one verse. Joyce's voice was unsure but present. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful. Afterward, Emma whispered, "We'll never go back to how things were. But maybe that's the point." Joyce nodded. "We don't need to go back. We're building forward." As the audience applauded, as the lights dimmed, and as Lagos hummed into the night, a mother and daughter stood side by side, not in battle, but in balance. Because love, when freed from fear, becomes something stronger. Something like music,